For about the past month or so, I have joined a couple of creationist groups in Facebook to test my ability to have a friendly conversation with people that I disagree with. And I think that I have been doing a little bit better than before, but not really. In one of the groups, I've approached them with an open spirit. Okay, I just announced myself saying that I am an atheist, I am not a creationist, I agree with Darwinian Mendelian evolution, and immediately I am approached with hostility. Immediately. They are instantly. They're not like, okay, we'll have a conversation with you, see what we can learn, what you can learn, whatnot. Instead, the admin of the group is ready to fight, and I offer my explanations. I say I don't want to argue. I just want to talk, and I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but yeah, he was hostile, and the next guy was hostile. And I think it was also in that group that I got someone giving me an interesting argument, which was that God must exist because the universe is in balance. It's mathematical, and for every action there is a consequence, which means that every sin has to be paid for. The argument was basically that. It was basically the karma argument for the existence of God. If wrong actions do not go unpunished, the universe is out of balance. Okay, I would say not very scientific at all. I spent more time in this other group. It was admin by some guy named Tom from Waco, Texas. I figure that's what I just did is not doxing, but if he ever sees this video, he will know I'm talking about him. This other group, I spent more time in and got more insanity from 3 or 4 people: Tom, Jerry, George, and I say they're all crazy. I did swoop down to their level and just start arguing with them, and yet I now have this approach about arguing with non-academics, which is to just not argue with them. If you're arguing with an academic, if you're arguing in a way in which you're willing to change your mind, or you're willing to discuss the facts, you're both like at the same level, the same place, that you're reasoning with each other. With these people, you're not doing that. It's defense, offense, and if you go onto defense, even if you explain everything right, you lose. Now, Tom says that he wins all the time against these evolutionists, but he really doesn't. I think I'm giving up. I'm giving up because he's an asshole. I I over-explained. I explained that even if God created the world 6,000 years ago, evolution is still true because evolution is genetic adaptation. Evolution is natural selection. Evolution is change in allele frequency in a population over time. I explained to, I think it was George and Tom, that mutations, positive mutations, which are very unlikely to occur, are likely to accumulate, to stack in an organism. And negative mutations, we all get negative mutations, but they do not spread as much, they do not stack in large populations. They're likely to stack in small populations due to the founder effect, due to genetic drift. But they do not tend to accumulate, whereas positive mutations do over time. When I explained that, they said, oh, that's intelligent design. God made the genome to be able to do that. They admitted evolution. I won the argument, but in their eyes I didn't. There's no way to win if people are stubborn, unwilling to change their minds. So basically, I have this is the end of a semester for me. This is the beginning of a summer where I expect to be busy, and talking with these three idiots who actually, yeah, there is a fourth guy who claims to be scientifically educated, probably before the 90s, before we sequenced the entire genomes, and we can actually see relations, but they're all going to say, oh, that's design, even though there are some genes that we share which are basically just structural. They'd say, oh, it's complex, it's evidence of intelligence, it's evidence of common design. All of these arguments are debunked. But you can't really have a conversation with these people. These guys, every time I show up, they're going to want to argue with me. They're going to want to take my time, and I'm all too willing to give it, to explain it to them. I did make a friend with a guy from the UK who he runs a magazine for skeptics, but I really just can't handle these guys. Part of it is my own weakness and own willingness to argue with them, to waste more of my time. But for the record, Tom did not win the argument with me. He's just despicable. He is just stubborn, and yeah, you can't win an argument if you can't win a game if the person you're playing with doesn't know the rules. So the only real way to win is to, outmaneuver these people in politics and fund scientific education. Really, what we should be doing is talking over them, talking past them, getting the message out there, getting actual scientific education out to young people while they're still open-minded. so that they'll ignore them.